categories of work that are prohibited on Shabbat. We're going through the first 11 of them, which includes all of the activities that go into baking the bread, the lechem panim that was put in the sanctuary every week, and then also what was used, the activities that went into making the dyes that were used for the fabrics. The first was Horesh, which was plowing and preparing the earth for the plants. Next was Zoraya, which was planting, and all of the activities that go into ensuring the growth of strong plants. Now we have the tall wheat stalks and the full blooming herbs, so the harvest can begin. And that's the next of Melacha, or main category, which is Kotzair, reaping. So Kotzair, reaping, is the third step of preparation in making the bread, the lechem panim, and also the vegetable dyes that were used to dye the tapestry fabrics that were needed in the Mishkan. So Kotzair is severing a plant from its source of growth. And it applies to all vegetation, not just what grows in your yard or in the garden or in a field or on a tree. Even putting bean sprouts in a jar and sprouting them and removing them on Shabbat would be considered Kotzair because they're actually, that is, their source of growth. Mushrooms are not really even rooted in the ground and they absorb their nutrients from the earth around them, so cutting those off would be considered Kotzair as well. Even algae, since that is a type of vegetation that grows in the swimming pool, or moss that grows on damp wood. So picking, cutting, or removing any of these from the source of growth would be a prohibition on Shabbat. So what are some of the obvious Shabbat prohibitions related to Kotzair? Well, picking fruit from a tree or cutting flowers on Shabbat, pulling up weeds, pulling leaves or branches from a tree. There are some that are less obvious prohibitions. There's no prohibition on walking through the grass on Shabbat because it's not likely that you would be breaking off any of the grass blades or uprooting it. But running through the grass on Shabbat would be prohibited because invariably the grass is going to be pulled out. Walking on flowers or through a vegetable garden could easily break off any tender branches. Also, using a tree is prohibited on Shabbat. Using a tree would include climbing a tree, leaning against a tree or shaking a tree, hanging something on a tree, or removing objects from a tree. All of these actions could easily result in the inadvertent breaking off of a branch or a leaf, and that would be a violation of Shabbat. There is a Shabbat prohibition that is surprising that it falls under this Melacha of Kotzair. But this is an example, another example, of how our sages had a very keen wisdom regarding human behavior. And that is the prohibition of riding a horse on Shabbat or using any animal, since we would invariably pull a branch from a tree to use it as a prod. So this concludes our brief review of the Shabbat prohibited Melacha of Kotzair. Many of these acts you are probably already doing. People don't typically climb trees on Shabbat or ride horses, so those are very easy ones. But there's always a lot more to learn, so continue with your learning and think about what you can do to add more holiness to your Shabbat. And keep your eyes on the Torch website for our next Shabbat journey.